as the week goes on, we need to talk about what we saw last night. And what we saw last night with the Baltimore Green Bay game. Uh, Number one, Green Bay's defense was horrendous last night. I mean, Baltimore set up and they said, listen, we got Snoop Huntley in. He's not Lamar. We're going to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And that's exactly what they did. They didn't miss words. They didn't try to surprise Green Bay. They just ran the ball down Green Bay's throat. If it wasn't Derrick Henry just running straight up the gut, just coming out on the other side, running for big gains, they were running toss plays to the left side, to the right side, and he would just get going. He'd see that one hole and he'll shoot through, and Green Bay just did not have an answer. Like, Green Bay really did not show up on defense. But I'm going to tell you who did show up. Malik Willis. Malik Willis showed up. And he's been showing up. Every time Jordan Love has a little nagging injuries, he comes in and he takes care of business. He went 23 for 28 for 288 yards. And I think he had a couple touchdowns. He looked poised. He didn't come in garbage time. He played a Ravens defense that's getting better. They're getting better every week. And he was carving them up. That should have been an absolute win for Green Bay. Had Green Bay been able to stop the run somewhat. Slow down Derrick Henry and what they were doing. They just looked like they had no interest. They looked like they knew they was getting into the playoffs. They wasn't worried about competing for the NFC North title. They looked like they was just happy to be in. But Malik Willis is showing himself to be a valuable starting quarterback. And remember when he came out of school, where he come from? Liberty, I think. All the athletic gifts. He's only about maybe 5'11". He may be close to 6 feet. But he has all the tools. And, he was looked at as a first-round pick. Now, that was that draft with Kenny Pickett and all those guys, Desmond Ritter, and we see what that looks like. And he ended up sliding to like the third round. And the best thing that ever happened to him was not being forced to be the franchise guy immediately, because he ended up being traded after the Titans drafted Will Levis. And Malik Willis ended up moving to Green Bay. And he got to sit with Matt LaFleur and learn the game. Matt LaFleur is one of those guys off the Sean McVay tree, that whole Shanahan type tree. And one thing about those guys, they know how to develop quarterbacks. And Malik Willis has been able to sit for a year and a half and learn how to develop and process the game. And you can see it. 23 for 28, 288 against a desperate Baltimore Ravens team that is trying to make the playoffs. That is trying to that's pushing Pittsburgh Steelers today to have to beat the Browns to actually eliminate them. Because if the Steelers lose today, then, it's going to be a pretty much a playoff game between Baltimore and Pittsburgh for Week 18. So they was a desperate team. You knew what they were intending to do, and Malik Willis was carving them up. He was carving them up. Why am I talking about Malik Willis so much besides the obvious? Because I feel like the Baltimore Ravens just found their starter to replace Lamar Jackson. What I saw today, and I'm going to bring up Malik Willis. What I actually saw last night. I'm sorry. Let's get up Malik Willis here. All right. Let's pull up Malik Willis. So these are the games he's played this year. 6 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, no interceptions. Almost 1,000 passing yards, and he got about 260 rushing yards. Let's hear what he has to say real quick. Because one thing about Malik, he's well spoken. They talked highly about him when he was getting drafted and was in the draft process. That he's a well mannered man, respectable, and he's just a good guy to be around. So let's listen to him.
I think that what you put on tape is your pitch, and obviously, any opportunity, it would be a blessing, and you want to think about that type of stuff, but can't worry about tomorrow. Today have enough problems of its own. We got to figure out how to get back on track here. I think that what you put on tape is your pitch, and obviously.
So you hear how he speaks. He speaks like a man that is a starter. He wants to win. He has leadership capabilities. Why do I correlate Baltimore? Uh, he would be perfect for that Ty Monken system. I think what he showed last night is, believe it or not, that the urgency that those guys played with in Baltimore, that I think that the Lamar Jackson experience is over. I think they've, from the reports, and we can pull up the reports too. Whether I don't know who's sending this out. Let me say that. I don't know who's sending the reports out, but for those reports to come out for your franchise quarterback, they're done with him. They're done with Lamar Jackson. It's no coincidence. Trying to see here if I can find the clips. I think they're tired of the experience. They're tired of Lamar Jackson, and I think they want to go in a different direction. When you pay a guy $300 million, and if the reports are true, he can't be a leader. You know, quietly he wants to be the guy that goes. He wants to go down to Miami. He wants to be in Miami, or whatever the case may be. You know, let him. And let's pull up this report. Now, this report is via the Baltimore Sun. It says Ravens head coach John Harbaugh is reportedly growing tired of Lamar Jackson's diminishing work ethic and immaturity that includes late night gaming and falling asleep during team meetings. Once the Ravens become critical of Jackson, he becomes more withdrawn. And that's a problem. That's an entitlement thing, if that's what's going on. We can't speak to, we don't know if that's the truth or not. It's easy to say that. It's easy to believe that. Um, I'm not going to discredit Lamar Jackson. For what we know, he's been pretty much a model citizen, and he's not out in the streets doing that crazy. But you are a leader of a team, and if this is true, they have to get rid of him because they rallied around Snoop Huntley yesterday for sure. They rallied around him. They played hard for him, and you just wonder where has this Baltimore team been the last few weeks, all year really. They didn't play with a sense of urgency. This team was kind of falling apart. And if your leader is acting that way, how is the rest of the team going to act? Like I said, I don't know if it's true or not, but I will say this. If it is true, you have to get off of Lamar. And you know what you're going to get from Lamar. You know you're going to get 3 first-round picks for Lamar. Send him down to Miami, where he wants to go, or if Vegas is a possibility, Tom Brady, knows Lamar, I guess, probably from the Under Armour days and all those things. Sometimes you can be in a space too long. We talked about that with John Harbaugh. We talked about that with Mike Tomlin as head coaches. Sometimes the message gets stale. Same thing could go, especially for the quarterback position. Things can go stale. He's never won the big game, can never get over the hump, and yet you still have to pay him like an elite quarterback. Well, if you have all these other extra issues going on outside of him not winning the games that he needs to win, why would you keep him? And I think that's where the Malik Willis thing comes in at. If you get off Lamar Jackson's contract, you send him to the Vegas Raiders or you send him to the Miami Dolphins. Wherever you want to go, you get a deal done. You get those 3 first-round picks. Now his money is off the books. You bring Malik Willis in, give him the Sam Darnold deal or whoever deal, the Baker Mayfield, give him about $30 million a year for 2 or 3 years. He's a QB of the future. You're not hamstrung cap-wise. And then you can make some more moves around him. Because, see, a lot of these things that these quarterbacks don't talk about is when you're taking up 20, 25% of the cap, you can't go get these weapons, these high-tier weapons or the players that you need around you as easily as when you have that cap space. So if you got a Malik Willis in Baltimore and you got all this other cap space, you could put a slew of weapons around. At this point now, Malik Willis, what, 26, 27? He might be younger than that. I might be overstating his age. Maybe he's younger than that. Maybe he's about 25. And if he's like 25 and you can put him on a 3-year deal for about $90, $95 million, I say you got to push the button. Because Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, and I've said this for a while in videos, he's been done in Baltimore. Ever since the negotiations of the other contract and they put him up on the trade block. I think it was a working relationship as long as they were winning. Any turbulence, any type of adversity come through in that situation, both parties was going to be ready to split. Because the Baltimore Ravens is a proud organization that have won Super Bowls, and you having a franchise-type quarterback, they're not going to just be in quarrels where they out here going at each other. They're going to try to make the best of the relationship and make it work because they were winning. Soon as they started losing and going on that losing streak or falling apart or whatever you want to call it, not being up to the expectation of what the Ravens thought they were supposed to be, now you got all these problems. Now you got all this stuff coming out about how the Ravens were tired. They're tired of Lamar's work ethic. Lamar Jackson tired of them not getting him weapons. All these things. Now all this stuff is coming out. That means that's because the relationship wasn't solid to begin with. And see, here's the thing that may be, I'm not even going to say it's an issue, but it can cause some difference. Lamar not having a typical agent that's not a family member and that's not his mother could pose issues in itself. Not that she negotiated the deal because I thought that was awesome. But when it's time to go to talking to the team about, what Lamar needs to do or somebody kind of reeling him in on certain things, that relationship, that mom-son relationship is probably going to play a part in the way he moves in certain ways versus a typical agent who don't really know you. And I'm not saying all the time they have your best interest, but they probably would be like, hey, I just talked to the organization. They're not happy with you. They feel like you doing this and you doing that. Either, you going to get it up to their standards or you're going to ask for a trade. But when he went into contract negotiations, he already had feelings about the Ravens organization not wanting to pay him and putting him up on the trade block. So if he has those feelings, that means that his mom probably had those feelings too. So that's just the family dynamic. I don't know how that plays a part, and maybe it doesn't. But I think that's something to kind of just, keep in the back of your mind because that could be a situation. You know what I mean? And like I said, when you see the reports, maybe they're false. But if they are true, it looks like a lot of entitlement. And no one can get in front of him and tell him, hey, you are the franchise guy. We need you to be this or we need you to be that. I don't know. Like I said, I am a big fan of Lamar Jackson. All the way from when he came out of Louisville where they tried to tell him that he needed to go to wide receiver and all this other stuff. And he played his position. And he's made a whole lot of money, and he's made a whole lot of progress in his career. Throws the ball better, he's had all the accolades. He just couldn't be Patrick Mahomes. But this is going to be a rough way to go out this year if they can't make it to the playoffs with no Patrick Mahomes in their way. With all the weapons that they put around on this team is like ready to win. Derrick Henry is not getting any younger, even though he's running like he's 25. He's not getting any younger. D-Hop, older guy at this time. He doesn't have too many years in the league. You got these guys that are ready to win now. And this team is built to win now. And if they don't get it done this year, at some point, you're going to have to start resetting this cap. So I don't know what Lamar's situation is. Is he tired of Baltimore? Do you feel like they've been messing around on his career too? That's a strong possibility. But I think it's a divorce that needs to happen. And I think Malik Willis is right there for the taking for the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens got to see Lamar Jackson's replacement in front of them. That's what I think. So, let me know what you guys think about that. I just don't think it's a good situation, and I think it's going to either be John Harbaugh going to have to go or Lamar Jackson's going to have to go. One of the two is leaving, but I think it's more so going to be Lamar. Like I said, once you're on the books for that type of contract and you're not producing to the results that they want you to produce, even though it's only two teams that can get to the dance, this was a prime year for them to get to the dance. And, if Pittsburgh go out there and they do their job at 1 o'clock, it's over. Another year lost for the Baltimore Ravens. So this offseason is going to be fun. But, watching Malik Willis last night, watching how the team rallied around Snoop Huntley for Baltimore last night showed me that situation is falling apart in Baltimore with Lamar and the organization because they play for the backup and they don't play for Lamar Jackson like that. Call it what you want to call it, but that's just the situation.